The Republican Party is no longer conservative. It has shifted its loyalty from the principles that once gave it meaning to a man whose only purpose is himself. Whether it was meant as a political roast or an intense emotional release, Congressman Adam Kinzinger publicly criticized Donald Trump on live television, without a script or restraint, delivering direct verbal attacks. Kinzinger vented years of frustration in a forceful outburst, leaving Trump scrambling to respond. As a military man, Kinzinger said he respects strong leadership and described Trump as the opposite, a weak, fearful, and insecure man. Donald Trump is once again in the spotlight, not for defending democracy or showing great courage, but because Kinzinger harshly criticized him on television. Kinzinger, a former Republican congressman and now an outspoken Trump critic, delivered a strong rebuke. The man who once popularized the term COVID-FA was sharply criticized with no attempt at politeness. Trump, according to Kinzinger, is a weak man pretending to be strong, a small man pretending to be big, a man without faith pretending to be righteous. He accused Trump of constantly portraying himself as a victim, despite being responsible for his actions. With the intensity of someone who had held back for a long time, Kinzinger's remarks were so forceful that even Trump's supporters took notice. It began when Trump, in his typical style, posted online with a mix of unproven claims, personal attacks, and a combination of victimhood and bravado. Kinzinger mocked this, describing the overall impression as deeply unpleasant, likening it humorously to a mix of body odor, ketchup, and makeup blended into a cologne. He expressed surprise that others were only now starting to recognize Trump's weaknesses. Kinzinger also noted that Trump had people respond to him after his comments. He went on to criticize Trump's constant complaints, his desire for power, and his refusal to take responsibility. Kinzinger went further, questioning Trump's leadership, his tendency to blame his own supporters, and his habit of making everything about himself. He mocked Trump's tough guy image, reminding viewers that during the January 6 events, Trump was watching from the White House instead of taking action. According to Kinzinger, Trump avoids real conflict and prefers to pick easy fights to appear strong. He compared Trump to a young boy still trying to gain his father's approval. He said Trump picks fights with allies like Canada because it's low risk and helps him look tough. Kinzinger also pointed out contradictions in Trump's trade policy, first criticizing past trade deals with Canada and Mexico, then calling his own agreement, the USMCA, the best ever. Kinzinger called this behavior confusing and hypocritical, saying it goes against America's values, argued that Americans still have a natural desire to resist this kind of leadership, and predicted that people may soon start pushing back against what he called an elite ruling class. Kinzinger's remarks were intense and direct. It was more than just political criticism, it was a detailed takedown, the kind that draws media attention, sparks debate, and likely upset Trump, who is known for reacting strongly to personal attacks. Kinzinger claimed Trump struggles to handle criticism and compared him to a wet paper towel in terms of emotional resilience. Bragging that he is the greatest thing to happen to America since the invention of fried food, strongest and brightest, when someone on TV dared to speak the truth about him, Kinzinger was the one throwing punches. The next time he posted in all caps, he was clearly furious. Trump ridicule is nothing new to Kinzinger, it's practically his full-time job now. However, this particular takedown was artfully done. It was the kind of critique that makes you pause, put your phone down, and give a quiet round of applause. I will tell him he was the worst president the United States has ever had. He was a liar, a charlatan, and had the most fragile ego of anyone I've met. The irony is that he walks around acting like a tough guy, but he's the one who gets the most offended, hurt, and upset of anyone I know. Also tell him that I hope his presidency was the low point of America's slide toward authoritarianism, and the moment we woke up. I hope he's proud of what I've done. I'm confident he will be, because unless this whole thing, our country, this experiment, completely falls apart, we'll look back and say, that was a moment we flew too close to the sun, and we can't do that again. That's my hope and prayer. Otherwise, we're in serious trouble. He took aim at Trump's most familiar traits, his constant victim mentality, his commitment to golf while pretending to care about the nation, and his ability to turn any situation into a chance to cast himself as a victim, every misstep? A witch hunt. Whether it's classified documents or the wrong order at McDonald's, his response is always the same. His brain seems programmed to reject any kind of responsibility. Kinzinger also pointed out Trump's leadership style, loudly praising himself while dodging accountability. Strong, powerful, brilliant, but always the victim. He could trip over his own feet and blame the FBI, immigration, or wind farms. He sought out people who would reflect back the image he wanted, something narcissists do. He surrounded himself with those who made him feel good and constantly told him how great he was. At first, the far right manipulated Trump. Now, Trump controls them. Ultimately, it's all about him. He can't stand being seen as a loser and lacks empathy for anyone but himself. That explains much of his behavior. Trump's most devoted supporters would defend him as if their lives depended on it. Despite being hailed as a business genius, he somehow managed to bankrupt a casino, a business model designed to make money. Think about that. Unless you're Trump, in which case even your home files for Chapter 11, but somehow, you're still seen as a financial genius. That's like calling someone who burns water a great cook. Adam Kinzinger, a former Republican congressman, didn't hold back in criticizing Trump's carefully crafted image. Kinzinger said Trump's entire brand is built on a false show of strength. The tough guy act falls apart the moment he faces criticism. He spends his time on social media complaining about how unfair life is, even while trying to appear as a brave leader. But in truth, he's about as tough as a wet paper towel. Still, his followers see him as a fighter. At this point, it's a mental gymnastics routine, and the MAGA crowd would win gold for cognitive dissonance. Trump's personal attacks and promises of retribution have led to numerous threats against Kinzinger. Despite that, he says he has zero fear of Trump. "Why, look, I've been to war," he said. "I'm not just taking partisan shots here." Donald Trump is a small, weak man who is terrified of strong people. "I refuse to be intimidated. I didn't break the law, I just got answers for the American people. If you want to come after me, you'll have to make something up. And if you do, I'll use it to become twice the problem for you that I ever was. If you go after me for no reason, the American people won't stand for it." They may have elected Donald Trump, but they still want the legal system to work properly. Then there's his infamous claim, "I hire the best people." Yet those same people either get fired the moment they stop praising him, end up in jail, or turn on him. His hiring process seems to depend on just two things: blind loyalty and a willingness to risk federal charges on his behalf. If someone questions him, or worse, refuses to break the law, he discards them. Anyone who speaks against him is immediately labeled a loser, a rhino, or part of the so-called deep state conspiracy. Then there's the matter of legal fees. Trump expects loyalty despite showing the financial reliability of a deadbeat. At the core, Trump's persona is a fragile structure built on bravado, grievances, and a base that chooses to ignore reality as long as he keeps delivering the outrage they want. His legal team, campaign staff, and former allies are left scrambling to cover their own legal costs while he continues to hold lavish dinners at Mar-a-Lago to finance another wave of lawsuits. Still, reality eventually catches up, even with the most practiced manipulators. Even con artists run out of targets. Trump's legal situation is chaotic. He seems to have more court dates than an outdated reality show figure trying to stay relevant. There's always a new scandal, indictment, or last-ditch attempt to dodge accountability. At this point, even a sneeze might lead to a multi-count indictment. He shows no empathy, not for the country, not for anything. Sure, many presidents may have had narcissistic tendencies. You probably need some to run for president. But they haven't gone so far as to damage the nation. They usually understand that their role in history is to try to improve the country. Some succeed more than others, but they usually try, despite their flaws. Trump doesn't care about any of that. He only focuses on presenting himself as a victim, whether under the MAGA law and order theme or something else. He's involved in criminal charges, civil lawsuits, and both state and federal legal proceedings. Whether it's hush money payments, possession of confidential documents, the events of January 6th, or anything else, Trump's legal team probably has his number on speed dial, with a ringtone that just says urgent. It's a non-stop legal battle, and he keeps crying witch hunt more often than anyone did during the actual Salem trials. Every consequence is painted as part of a massive plot against him. Still, his most loyal followers continue to believe he's a strongman leader who can beat the so-called deep state. Every legal challenge is cast as political persecution. Instead of leading, he spends more time complaining. Trump keeps losing, and another loss could be necessary for national healing. The Republican Party also needs to face this in order to move forward. This gives context to Adam Kinzinger's criticism. It's harsh but meaningful. He did more than just highlight Trump's legal problems. For someone who claims to be a strong and brave leader, Trump certainly complains often. His political identity centers on constant self-pity. He never accepts blame. The media is unfair, the courts are biased, judges are dishonest, even Fox News isn't loyal enough anymore, and the Department of Justice is out to get him. If things don't go his way, it's rigged. If he loses, it's stolen. If he's caught, it's a setup. Leadership isn't Trump's focus, it's grievance. Unlike other candidates, his campaign centers on complaints. Kinzinger, frustrated by the never-ending drama, sees Trump as fixated on resentment. If accountability were a sign of strength, Trump wouldn't even be part of the conversation. He has built a cult of personality, and challenging him feels to his followers like attacking their faith. Everything they do is based on the idea that Trump will save America, leading to intense reactions. Kinzinger describes receiving texts from people he once served with, like a co-pilot from Iraq, saying they regret having worked with him. Even extended family members have sent formal letters to his parents condemning him and calling him part of the devil's army. This division isn't unique. Families across the country are being pulled apart over one deeply flawed individual. In truth, Trump lacks the qualities of a strong leader. He avoids accountability, often turning to social media in the middle of the night to rant about late-night TV hosts, imagined enemies, or anyone who offends his fragile ego. At the slightest criticism, he descends into a flurry of complaints, blame, and conspiracy theories. Adam Kinzinger put it simply: Trump's relevance has expired. It's the same routine, recycled excuses, repeated grievances, and an endless political spectacle.